Hello everybody, thank you for tuning in to another video. This week's video is going to be on the 2023 Mortgage Renewal Survey conducted by Royal LePage. It was released to media earlier this week, and it basically is Royal LePage surveying Canadians across the country on their impending mortgage renewals and their concerns on them during this environment of higher rates. So they surveyed Canadians across the country. I'm going to be focusing on Ontario because that's the market that I work in and all of you are in. There's a press release and then there's basically a data chart of this, so I'll link both in the description below. I'm going to give you my key takeaways. If you'd like to review the press release and data and kind of give your opinion or what your interpretations of the data is, that's great. But the key theme here for me is I don't think a lot of Canadians are in as much trouble as the media is portraying it to be. So let's get into my thoughts on the data. The first question in the survey was, are you concerned about your renewal? Yes or no? 66% of Ontarians answered yes. So I don't know if this means they actually are in trouble or if they've just think they're in trouble because the media has been saying, oh, the mortgage renewal crisis, your payment's going to triple, blah, blah, blah. Average mortgage amount in Ontario, 69% of mortgages are less than $500,000. 87% are less than $750,000. 52% of this have paid off more than 25% of their mortgage amount. So if you do the math there, that's basically saying an overwhelming amount of Ontarians have a mortgage probably less than $500,000. If you take into account 52% have already paid off 25% or more of their mortgage amount. Just to give you an idea, the benchmark price in Ontario is $896,000. So almost $900,000 for benchmark price. And then we're sitting at an average mortgage amount of less than $500,000, let's say. So this just shows that Ontarians have a lot of equity in their home. Another key takeaway point from this data is that 78% of Ontarians have a 25-year or less original amortization period. So amortization period meaning how long the loan spans for. So term would be a 5-year fixed for a 25-year amortization. And a lot of these Ontarians are saying, well, I'm just going to extend my amortization when I renew if I can't afford the payment, which seems to be the common theme here in Ontario. So let's say you bought a home back in 2019 with a 5-year fixed mortgage for 3%. And now you're coming up in next year, 2024, you're going to be renewing at 6%. Well, you took a 25-year AM back then, so now your amortization is 20 years, but your rate's double. So what are the banks doing and what are people choosing to do? Well, you don't want to sell your house because you have good equity in that house and you don't want to go rent because renting's expensive and you need a place to live. So what's the obvious choice here if the banks are going to let you? You're just going to extend your amortization. So you're going to renew, you're going to take whatever a 2, 3, 4-year fixed loan, but you're going to take a 30-year amortization, which the banks are allowing a lot of us to do. So that brings your payment down to similar to what it was before. So it's like, okay, problem solved if the banks are going to allow this. And it seems like a lot of them are, especially the A lenders, they're just extending AMs because they don't want these mortgages foreclosing and having these homes on their books. They don't have an interest in taking your home from you. Another interesting stat was 31% of variable mortgage holders, so almost a third of variable mortgage holders have not hit their trigger rate, which you'd think that everyone's hit their trigger rate who took a variable rate mortgage because of what they took a variable rate at 1% and now their variable rate's 5.5%. Like you'd think they definitely hit their trigger rate. So this is showing that maybe people who have these variable mortgages have taken them recently. So variable mortgage is becoming more of a thing again because people are speculating, saying rates probably aren't going to go much higher. So that was an interesting number. I thought that'd be a lot lower. I thought most variable mortgage holders would have hit their trigger rate, which most of them have, but still 1/3 haven't. So after that rant, top 3 answers for dealing with higher mortgage rates, which Canadians were surveyed. Reduced essential spending was one. So that would mean cutting down on groceries, spending on on utilities. So that's being a little more frugal with, turn the lights off, or we're not going to buy organic avocados this week, or we're going to get regular avocados. So I think that like essential spending is probably just not getting fancy grocery items. Second was discretionary spending, so eating out less, going on less trips. And then third was putting less money in savings. So I think this isn't really changing Canadians' lives that much, or Ontarians' lives that much, because you see from the stats here that people have good equity in their homes. Mortgage amounts aren't as high as we think and the media is portraying it. Yes, there's those people with high leveraged mortgage amounts on expensive properties that have gone down in value, but that's just not the norm for most Ontarians. So hopefully you found this video informative. I know this data was really eye-opening to me, because I knew people weren't really in trouble, but I mean, this just shows it lays it out for you. With all the chatter going on in the media, this kind of gives some data to back up that the equity's there in homes, and a lot of people are not going to be really affected by this renewal crisis, with rates being much higher, because the equity's there, amortization extension options are there, and banks are giving people options anyway. So there's my rant on the mortgage renewal survey by Royal LePage. As always, if you have any questions, you can contact me. All my info is in the description below. And thank you for watching. Stay tuned next week for a new video.